we dug ourselves massive overcrowding. The old school system policies let clusters go to 140% of capacity before, we did anything. And so you allowed schools to get blown way out of proportion and neighborhoods to be built way out of proportion compared to the facilities that were available. And just as a teacher, 140% of capacity, which is an average, which in some schools at that time was 170% capacity, was just flat out bad educational policy, leaving the technicalities of construction aside. I just feel we've built a really deep hole, and there is no easy way out of this. I mean, when you pose the question, what's the appropriate spending on RevX versus expansion, I'm like, really? I mean, am I going to choose between whether I build the schools I need for the kids who are coming in here, or do I, rebuild the schools in the neighborhoods? Do I shut down the schools, or in the worst cases, bulldoze the schools? Because apparently nobody thought that the neighborhoods would recycle. And how do I reclaim or add capacity there? And then there's this pure, flat out, how do I fix aging buildings that weren't built for the load that they carry? And I guess I don't see any. I mean, if the dollar limit is the dollar limit, I don't see any clear way forward. I mean, I think with X hundreds of millions of dollars, you're only going to build so much. I mean, you'll either get increasingly badgered by people who say, why do the bathrooms look so bad in my schools? And I've seen those bathrooms, and I understand my parents are upset. But you're going to be trading off bathrooms for school space, or you'll be, fixing the bathrooms and not providing school space. I mean, and with all due respect to the state government, when we had Democrats in the state government, we didn't get our fair share of funding, and we didn't get the money we needed for expansion. So I'm not quite sure why anybody expects that under the current system, we're going to do remarkably better. And we get into this conundrum of, if we say we're going to do it ourselves, and the state doesn't feel like they have to do anything, and we've heard this on transportation as well. On the other hand, if the state really isn't going to do anything and has a long history of not doing anything, the failure to do things ourselves just means we'll fail to deal with the problem. And I sort of feel like the buck stops here. I can't look to the state to save us. I don't believe the state's going to save us. So I think we may have to have hard discussions about what are the caps and how much debt are we willing to go into for some period of time in order to provide the capacity we need. Because this is just, I mean, it's not just a technical question of, crowded schools and dysfunctional buildings in some cases. It's really an educational question. And so all the stuff we talk about closing the achievement gap, if the facilities aren't right and the capacity's not right, we're not closing anything. We can sit around this table and we all probably agree what we ought to do, but at the end of the day, for the kind of things we're going to need to do, we need public buy-in. And our ability to put information out there to the public in a way that they have any sense of what we're dealing with is really poor. And so when we talk about stuff, it's just talking heads. And things like this make it real. People can go to these sites, they can look at the school system in general, they can say, you've got lots of problems, and they understand that we have lots of problems. And I think information is power. I mean, it's not like we're trying to, engage in a program that the public wouldn't vaguely be interested in. This is something probably people care about more than anything else, and not just school parents, but anybody who owns a home is probably selling the home someday to somebody who's going to want to bring kids. And we all know how people are vexed about what district they wind up in. So all this information, I think, helps make the case for the kind of things we need to do. And keeping it, kind of closed as we've done with this, I think doesn't serve us well. I think we would benefit enormously from people understanding. And I think the same thing, Fairfax, by the way, is the same thing with their traffic transit stuff. They are much more transparent about what the conditions are, which means people look at it and say, oh my God, we need to do something, as opposed to it's just a bunch of politicians who want to raise more money. And that's a big difference. When people think there's an intent to what we want to do, we get much more support when people think we just want to raise taxes and have more money to do whatever we feel like with.